It has been many weeks since I have been live. Yeah, Friday. It's a good day to trim plates. Does not look very nice. Let's fix that. Yeah, making some plates. Well, I already made them. Just trimming the foot rim on the bottom. You don't have to trim a foot rim, but I do. I like them. Yeah, just doing the work. Finally making dinner plates. It's taken, feels like 2 years, but I think it's just been one. To get the glazes that I can use to make dinner plates. Still doesn't look right down there. Try this tool in there. I can't get it off of there. Nuts. There we go. Oop, oop. Ah, turds. Stuck. Oh man, it's not great. Let's see if I can straighten it out now. All right, we'll call that good enough. Good enough. Stamp the Goods Pottery on the bottom. Don't know why I said it that way. The Goods Pottery. That's all right. And then just like 25 more of those, we'll be done. Got plates coming out of my ears today. A lot of plates. It's not always the most exciting work, but it is satisfying. I personally love trimming. The leather hard clay to me is my favorite stage. Could also be called cheese hard. I think because it resembles the hardness of a block of like cheddar cheese. But I don't actually know. Yeah. Turning the foot rim. And later, before I put it in the kiln, I will add a dishwasher cutout. I don't know, it's all these little details that I think really add to the usability, you know, of the work. Makes it, foot rim on the plates makes it nice to hold. If you're going to hand a plate of food to someone, it's nice to have that extra, how would you say, grabability? I don't know. I don't know. On the bottom. It's like a little handle. Darn it, that clay. Bit of unluckiness down there right now. Might need to remake this little tool. Struggling to get that round. It's better at least. I can smooth it with a sponge at the end. LaCroix. Hope everybody's Friday is going well. Any plans for the weekend? Anything interesting going on? I've neglected my taxes, so that's something fun I get to do this weekend. Anybody else having a tax weekend? Maybe everyone else is responsible adults. Yeah, had some drama with my pug mill this week. Well, it was last week, I guess. It was this week I had to pay for it. Little stones were appearing in my clay. It was driving me crazy. And so I took the pug mill apart and found all these, like, what'd you call them? Like crystallized growths. Is that, I don't even know if that's the right word, but on the walls of the pug mill were all these like lumps. And when I scraped at them with my tool, I knew right away it was the same little stones or chunks or whatever bits that were in the clay. So I reached out to the Peter Pugger, and this is like a known issue. And it's my fault. I should have, when I initially bought the pug mill, I should have bought the upgraded version, the stainless steel one. Because apparently there's some kind of a chemical reaction between the feldspar, which is what helps the clay kind of like melt or fuse together, and the aluminum. How do you say aluminum? Aluminum walls. And so actually it was amazing. They have a retrofit for my pug mill to change the parts from aluminium to stainless steel, which at first I was pretty bummed to have to spend like $1,120 on, to get the pug mill to do what it's already doing. But then I was feeling just extremely grateful that I didn't have to buy a whole new pug mill, so that they have this kit that you can just put right on there. Holy cow, so anyway, very grateful for that. Upgrade. Maybe they'll ship it out this week, maybe next week. What else? Had a little Glaze drama. And I'm trying my absolute best to get a newsletter out. Because you see, going to depend on sales to make my money for this business. And I don't have any yet. I mean, I have some, thank you, Mom, and some friends who have purchased the work, but you know, it's a process to get your name out there and to grow a brand. Oh, hi, Joyce. Sorry, it's been so long since I've been on. And also, thank you so much for tuning in. How are you? Any updates, perhaps? Have you been on the wheel? I was thinking today, I was walking past my neighbor's house, and he has this lovely bird feeder. And so I thought, you know, I wonder if I could make a bird feeder in ceramic. So I was thinking I would throw a tall cylinder and then alter it square and use some slabs and things to make the roof and maybe some textural designs and essentially make a lid and try to make a bird feeder. Have you ever tried something like that, Joyce, making a bird feeder? Joyce said, I wonder why a company would sell an item that they knew would fail, so you would have to upgrade. Well, that's a good question, and honestly, I think I think you have a really good point. You know, why not just make a stainless to begin with? And I wish I knew the answer to that. You see, this is the second Peter Pugger I've owned. Not owned. I didn't own the first one. The first one I used when I was a teacher. And back in those days, I think the clay itself was different. One of our essential ingredients, Gerstly borate, Custer feldspar, that mine closed. And so the clay itself has changed in the past, I don't know, it's been pretty recent. So I think Peter Pugger is actually trying to like catch up. So that could be a reason. I don't know if that's the actual reason, but because now we're using different fluxes in the clay, I think. Could be a reason. But new pug mill, stainless steel, $7,000. And why I'm actually sort of grateful for this is that the upgrade kit brings the total cost of my pug mill to the same price as the stainless. So they didn't rip me off. They just charged me the difference in price, which, they could have charged me essentially whatever they wanted, because I had a choice I would have had a choice either to buy a whole brand new pug mill or whatever they were charging. So in the end, I think they did me right. Ooh, I'm just gonna have to deal with that later once it gets bone dry. Haven't attempted a bird feeder. Me neither. I've made some bird houses. I've thrown some bottle shapes that I then pinched the neck in and put a hole through, and then cut a big hole for the body of the house. But no birds have chosen to live in my bird houses, so I think my design needs revision. Getting rejected by the birds. They're real picky. I've got a whole stack of plates here. What about plates, Joyce? Have you made plates before? This one needs remade. Oh, thanks a lot. Yeah, the plates are fun. I've hesitated to make these big dinner plates. They're not big. They're just bigger of the two plates. I do a smaller one. I got a whole stack of them here, but I was trying to find one that might look good on, not good, but easy to focus on. But I do these smaller plates. You can kind of see a comparison. This one warped a bit. And I make these, and part of the reason I trim such a tall foot rim is the small plates act as lids to the bowls, which is quite handy. So if you had some leftovers or something, actually, in my refrigerator right now, I like to eat these beets that I buy at Costco, and so I put the beets in there. And I just eat one like a little snack whenever. So yeah, they're lids. And this foot rim, I just find so handy. But it takes 900 years to add on. Any plans for the weekend, Joyce? This is going to be, for me, I have to do some taxes this weekend. I'm embarrassed to say, but I have procrastinated the work I need to do on that. So I think it's going to be a homework weekend for me. Get that stuff finished. State taxes are done, but federal taxes not done. Joe said, no plans, just waiting on my new lawn guys to come. Yeah. How big is your lawn, would you say? Ours is tiny. It's probably it's probably like 20 feet by 10 feet. you know, it's the width of our house by about 10 feet deep. So it takes our long guy about 2 minutes. And are they just doing the lawn, or do they trim the plants and hedges and things as well? 2 acres? Holy hot dogs. That's a massive amount of lawn. That must be so peaceful at your house. 2 expansive acres of lawn. Ah, I'm quite envious. That sounds beautiful. Oh, those guys will be there for hours. Today they will pick up limbs, mow, trim. Pick up limbs, so that means you have trees. Have there been some storms that came through and blew things down, or is it just kind of normal winter stuff? Yes. I love being surrounded by nature, she said. Oh, I'm sure. Do animals come through, deer and I don't know, what else do you see on your, is it fair to say that you have a ranch? Or how would you describe it? Just property? 2 acres of lawn sounds like there's a lot more. Joy said a lot of the limbs are from the last hurricane. Oh my. Yes. That, I suppose, would blow down many limbs. Did any of the trees fall down? Did you have to have trees removed? Yeah, there. So I said no trees fell, but some very big limbs did. Gosh, that must be scary, going through a hurricane. When there's a hurricane, Joyce, do you all have like a shelter that you go to under the house, or I don't know. My knowledge of hurricanes is pretty limited, I have to say. Stay home, yeah. How often do you experience a hurricane where you are? Is it a yearly thing, or do they mostly pass by in other areas? I'm in Central Florida. The hurricanes come when they come. Yes. Yes. From what I see on the news, it seems like they come and then they might, be hundreds of miles from where you are, or so it might be infrequently. You might not expect one every year, but they're coming anyway. Just might not come to your house. Do you recall the last time one came to your house? Just said, I don't worry about the floods. The wind is another thing. Milton. Yeah, the wind. The wind comes whether the hurricane hits you or not. Yeah, Milton was the last hurricane, you remember. I can't think of what year that was. Sounds recent though, in my memory. One of those stones, they're so tiny, but they can wreck the pot. Oh, last year. Yeah. Hey, Joel. Thanks for tuning in, man. Yeah, that's right. It's been a while. I've been a bit preoccupied with some other things. Hope you're doing well, brother. I saw that you all have been doing some very exciting videos, one-handed, no tools, blindfold was, you did that before. Non-dominant hand, that was the other one. Great videos, man. I need to get myself going, get those videos out. Just got super behind. I was telling Joyce I had an issue with my pug mill, and that it's just, for me, it's a tool that I really depend on. So getting that solved, that figured out, was stressful, expensive. Yeah, things are good. How's the weather up there in Canada? Starting to warm up a bit, or are you guys still in the cold temperatures? Joel said, cold in the mornings, warm in the afternoon, and cold at night. Haha. Been snowing on and off this week. Oh, okay, so cold still. Yeah, too soon for any kind of kiln update. I know we gotta wait till spring for that. Okay, only 99 more. Joyce said, campfire weather. Yes. Actually, I'm putting the electrical in on Sunday. Yes! Dude, I'm very pumped about that. You having somebody do it, or are you going to take that job on yourself? Gosh, that's so cool. And if I remember from our conversation, it's the electrical and then test the kiln and kind of see what condition it might be in, whether it needs elements or is ready to rock. Joel, do you know what temperature you're going to fire to, or what cone? The reason I asked, when I was in Washington, the clay companies sold cone 6, which was 2200. And then now that I'm in California, the clay companies sell cone 5, which is like 2165. And incredibly, those 35 degrees make a huge difference. It's ridiculous, but it does. Another one of those little stones. These are like stalactites that have been building up in my pug mill. It's impossible to show. It's tiny, but it. You know, when fired, would make a blister. It's a major bummer. All these plates might end up being junk. Because there's no way, I'm sure there's little chunks in there that I can't see. They're inside. That's right, everything looks good, but you never know. Cone 10, yes. Yes, sir. That's, if I could, I would. Absolutely. My kiln, it's hard to go to cone 10. 2300 is so close to the rest of the temperatures, but it's out of my reach. That someday, like if I ever hit the pottery jackpot, I want to do cone 10 gas. That's a pottery goal of mine. There's some stigma, I'll tell you, in not firing to cone 10. Anybody out there know why cone 10 is cone 10? Like, why is that we'll just say best. Why is that the best temperature? That might be a silly question, but oh, I forgot to trim the middle piece. Oh well. Yeah, WowE content. Joyce said, what do you use, Josh? I use, do you mean like clay? For clay, Joyce? Is that what you mean? I use a Cone 5 B mix, which actually stands for Butts. Professor Butts was somebody who Laguna was making clay for years. Joel said, well, I hope cone 10. That's the goal. The previous owner said it reached it. Yeah. Mandy said, does outside of the kiln get hot, or is it the coating on the outside that makes it safe to handle? If it doesn't Knowing myself, I'd burn myself. Oh, yeah. Does outside of the kiln get hot? Yes, it gets extremely hot. And I think every potter has regretted touching the side of the kiln. Yeah. I know I've burned myself. And Joy said, I heard cone 10 with electric kilns reduces their lifespan. Not sure though. Yeah, I think it depends on like the manufacturing of the kiln. Because my understanding of kilns is that, for example, with my scut kiln, the walls are only 2.5 inches thick. But if you get like a big gas kiln, you know, those walls are like 8 inches thick. So they just retain heat much better. And they also use soft brick on my kiln. It makes it easier to ship, but those also don't retain heat very well. Joel said, some people say that under cone 10, the clay does not vitrify completely. That's exactly right. Leaving pores, and therefore it is less likely to be good, safe. Absolutely. Joel, you've nailed it. Cone 10 is the only temperature where the clay truly vitrifies. That's under 1% absorption. And where I am, B mix, cone 5, they have a tolerance of under 3% absorption, which is, you know, they work, they function, but they're not as good. Not even close. Gold star to Joel, Fresh Cup of Joel. That correct answer. You get 5 extra minutes of recess today, Joel, just for that. That was great. Mandy said, does cone 10 equate to the heat levels you'd find out in the world? I hope this makes sense. Pottery is a big old mystery to me. Yeah, Mandy, cone 10 is about 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit. And I say about because it depends on the speed that you go. So if you're going at, let's just say 200 degrees per hour, you have to go a bit higher than that. But if you're going slower at say like 100 degrees or 80 degrees per hour, then you can go a little bit lower. The heat is like, we call it heat work because it just has more time to soak in the slower you go. But great question, Mandy, and I agree. It's way too confusing. Marianne, hi. So sorry, it's been forever since I've seen you. Thank you for coming by. Happy Friday. How was your test? The last time we spoke, you were about to take a science, I think, and a math test. And so I am curious to hear how it went. Yeah, good question, Joyce. What clay do you use, or are you planning to use, Joel? Kick the camera, sorry. How old am I? Good question. I'll give you a hint. I graduated high school in 1997. Yeah. So how old am I? Now, before you answer, you should know that I had to do the 4th grade 2 times. So I'm a little bit older than your typical high school graduate. That's true. Mandy said not even close, according to the temps you were using before. Temp plus heat work, yeah. Pyrometric cones. All right, pyro, fire. Metric, measurement. Yeah, Joel, I've been trying not to offer people advice unsolicited, but since Joyce brought it up, on your first firing, if you can, definitely grab some of those pyrometric cones, toss them in there, and you can see what temperature your kiln gets to in comparison to what temperature it thinks it got to. So for example, this is applicable to me because I am in an area where electricity costs a lot. So I only do one firing, I don't do a bisque, but that firing costs $30 in electricity. And so I am super greedy about it, and I overpack my kiln. I just jam pots in there. So I'm putting, my kiln is 27 inches wide and 27 inches tall, and I put like 60, 65 pots in there, a whole bunch. And I have to put a hold on the end to allow that heat work that Joyce was just talking about to finish. It has to like soak into the middle of the kiln. Otherwise, the cone 5 doesn't drop. It doesn't curl over to 90 degrees or whatever it's supposed to be. And then I've been experimenting because last fire, before I unloaded yesterday, it was like weird. It didn't look completely finished to me. So I instead of holding for 5 minutes, I held for 7 minutes, and then my top cones were overfired. So back to 5-minute hold. Some of the joys of firing. Some good guesses here. Pyrometric cones measure this. I know, because my dad graduated in 93. Oh, turds, I am old. Marion said, I will get the test mark after the holiday that started today. Yes, okay, holiday. But the test was good. I was on school vacation for a while and came back today. It was amazing. Mandy said, your merch is awesome, Josh. The color you're wearing now looks very soothing to the eye. Thank you. I have my wonderful partner and wife, Wendy, is, we call her my creative director. And this was a Christmas gift. But I also have another creative director. It's a little hot here today, so I'm not wearing it, but yeah, Mandy, your wares, your merch still being represented here. Thank you again. I'm not wearing an apron today because I'm a lazy turd. but I can see the apron that you made me. Thank you very much. Mandy said, wish you all the luck. I know you did great, Marion. Yeah. I'm sure you did as well. Yeah, shout out to Leah. How is Leah? Marion, do you, on your test, do you get marks based on a percentage of 100? Or do they use a letter scale like A, B, C, D, E, F? When I was a school teacher, we used it was like both. So you would have a letter correlating to a percentage. But then, to make things more complicated, as they do in the government, they switched again so that you used a letter grade, but it was on a 5-point scale. So A was 5, B was 4, C was 3. So stupid, so complicated. $15! Y'all are making my day right now. How you doing, man? Really good to see you. Thank you for coming by. Things here are good. So you know how sometimes you hear people say like problems come in threes? I had my 3 problems. And so I just had to kind of like put the head down and grind, get things done. So I was just doing, I don't know, I think I was doing like 12-hour days. Which I'm sure for you, 15 is like most days. I know how hard of a worker you are. I mean, I actually don't know that, but from speaking to you, I get that impression that you are somebody who can grind and then get up and do it again. Not like me. Today I freaking woke up, it was like 7:30. And I usually get up at 6 or 5. The dog gave me the side eye when I came downstairs. She's like, where's my breakfast? My dog, yeah. 15 said, sometimes you just got to grind it out. Dude, thank you for saying that. Thank you. Yeah, it means a lot, to get that reinforcement, because when you're, I don't know what you would call it, but sometimes just things aren't going your way. You make mistakes and failures happen, and it can be really nice to get that word of encouragement. I'm also very excited because I don't have an example. Oh yeah, I do. It might be hard to see on the camera, but I've been working on these special glazes that have, come on, focus. I don't know if you can see that. There's these gold crystals. Is that coming through? And I'm pretty excited about this glaze. Gold crystals. People are really into crystals right now. This is like a test tile. And this is gonite, zinc, silicate crystals. Crystal. Crystal. So I'm pretty excited about that. I've got that white glaze, and I kind of have like another one that's more amber in color. I think I've done about 300 variants of that to try to get it. Sorry, I've been missing some stuff. Mandy said, I'm not sure if I ever told you the story of how in public school I was going through a terrible time. Relationship with my parents was at its worst. I was rebelling. Grades were on the border of ... This is sounding like a lot of high school students I used to know. 15 then said, nah, man, I've been taking it easy lately. Good for you. Got to hit the gym every day, so no pushing the 12 to 14-hour days anymore for me. Dude, I can relate. Some work-life balance would be nice. Mandy then went on to say, never graduating. Parents pulled me out of school. I became homeschooled with an online program to have an opportunity to start over my whole school career. That went steadily downhill for a bit, dude. I can imagine. Transitioning from struggling at in-person school to then homeschool, for a majority of the students that I worked with, it was more challenging for them at home because, mom and dad, bless their hearts, they're not trained educators. Maybe they are. Mine were. But that would be so hard. And then Marion said, I got to go a bit earlier today. Barely got 7 hours of sleep last week. Oh, man. Yeah, you gotta get to bed. I am a zombie if I don't get my cozy 9 hours at night. That's true. I do sleep 9 hours a night. That's embarrassing to say. Oh, well. "15 said, I've definitely done it before though. LOL. Get up at 5. Don't go home till 11 and get up at 5 the next day. Rough stuff for sure." Yeah, dude. That is the most extreme. Get up at 5, work, get home at 11 p.m. You just set a new standard in my mind for what is possible. Didn't even know you could do that. 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Oh, thanks. Thank you, 15. Yeah, these plates, I've put off making plates because I didn't have a glaze combination that I thought would work on a plate. To me, it's very challenging to make plates because the color of our wares has an impact on our experience as we eat. Like red plates actually decreases your appetite. I've read what I've read. I don't know that to be true. But anyway, so my glazes are green and blue. I'm going with it, but I'm not 100% happy with that, how they look. One of those little chunks from the pug mill. Um, 15 said, are the crystals randomized or can you form them into shapes? Great question. They are completely random. Yeah, it's like some kind of a chemical reaction between zinc oxide and the silica as it cools. And so sometimes you'll get a whole bunch and sometimes fewer, but definitely not a way to really seed them. I've read that some people try to seed them. They'll use like zinc oxide in like a chunk form or a crystal, bigger form, not 33-25 mesh. And they'll try to like put it on there with mixed results. Mandy said, because my severe ADHD, but eventually graduated at almost 21 and left the program with a 3.4. Nice. My point being, you can do whatever you set your mind to, and it's never too late. Good for you. Mandy, yeah, I was 19 when I graduated and struggled. I did not do well in school. I tried hard. I mean, I got good grades, but I think a lot of that was the influence of my parents. Joel said, sorry, got to call it there. I use PSH, Cone 10 Glaze. Yeah, I cannot wait to hear about the firing. I know everybody, I'm sure everybody is hounding you about this, but we're just excited, man. You know, like you are a great potter, and we've got to watch all the work that you're doing. So really looking forward to that next chapter. And how nice too for you that you got such a, you know, with Ben, such an expert, you know. You got like 1-800 Google at your fingertips. I mean, if Ben Wolf doesn't know the answer to your questions, it probably doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, that guy's been around forever, doing pots his whole life. Have to go. Great to see you, Marion, and please keep us updated on the grades for the test. 15 said, nice, Mandy. I was homeschooled until around 8th grade. The transition being around other kids was weird, though. Yeah. Mandy said she was a social butterfly. Sorry, I got way behind here. Beautiful sparkles. Yeah, thank you. That's the goal on those gonite crystals. A friend of mine, Adriana, is into crystals. Actually, I have several friends who are into crystals, but she is probably the most into crystals. So much so that on the first full moon of the month or something like that, or whatever, on the full moon of the month, she puts her crystals outside to recharge. And I only point that out to say that, you know, people are into crystals, like spiritually speaking. And I got no judgment about that, but I just wonder if there's folks out there who might enjoy them for being pretty, but also, you know, enjoy them for like a spiritual enlightenment. You know, why carry your crystals around with you when you could be using them in your daily grind? Daily grind, that'd be a good name. 15 said, so weird in high school, really no friends or GFS, girlfriends to speak of, so it was just a mess and my grades weren't great. So it overall was a bad experience. Dude, I hear that from a lot of people that like high school is just, it's so hard. Even the people who look like they have it all together, it's like we're all struggling. And it is a really awkward time of life. Soul twins, yes. Not trying to trauma dump. That's interesting. I've never heard that before. See y'all almost every day. Don't want this to be a parasocial relationships. You're introducing vocabulary I don't know. I've never heard before. I love it. Parasocial. Hey, Swan City. Just got really excited to see Let's see, Jess from Swan City. Just thinking, what is Swan City to me? It's like Swan City's like what's the word? It's like the parent figure in our family, you know? They've been here. Maybe Ben Wolf is that, but definitely the authority, the most experience. So anyway, it means a lot to me when I see this Swan City folk here. Because y'all are awesome, you know? Oh, thank you. Yeah, had some dramas. Man. Had some issues with my pug mill, which I was telling Joyce about earlier. I was getting these in my reclaim, which I depend on, especially when I make plates, for example. These little chunks, these little stones in there that I thought were just lazy, you know, procedure on my part, but it turns out there were these like little stalactites that were forming as a chemical reaction between the feldspar in the clay and the aluminum walls. What a bummer. But it all turned out okay. The price difference for the retrofit to the pug mill, I was, once they gave me the bill, I was actually super grateful to Peter Pugger, because the price difference for it is like the same price as it would have been for the stainless steel pug mill. But I'm sure, as you can relate, at any time it's hard to write that $1,000 check, you know, to get something to work. Mandy said, it's a very common term, parasocial, on media. Easiest to describe being as a one-sided relationship. Oh, I said this before, so this will come as no surprise. But I am a super dummy, so I have no doubt it's very common. It's just another thing that I've never heard before. Mandy said, saying how we only see one side of the relationship, that we see you, but you can't see us. Yeah, no kidding. And the internet is an interesting place where people can be whatever they want to be, say whatever they want. Yeah. Which I think in part is why the pottery family folk are so unique. You know, it's like, I am quite certain that anyone in the pottery family that you would go and, if you could just like boundary invade and just go and be where they are, you know, and just like, I don't know, live in this one city ceramic house, I don't think there'd be any difference. I think, you know, we all have ups and downs, but I think you're getting a genuine and authentic experience. You know, I'm like, this is me. This is how I am. I'm not, you know, I'm trying my best here, you know, and when I'm having bad days, I don't turn into somebody else, but I also don't have to be on, which I think is exactly your point, Mandy, is that, you know, you're getting me at my best. And on the days where I'm just laying on the couch, you know, you don't have to look at me. That is exactly what that must be. You're still not getting the full picture. We were to meet in person. In person, you can have a rounded idea of who they are within minutes. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Ben Wolf said, crap, I'm not hiding who I really am well enough. Oh, man, Ben, I feel like any one of us would be lucky to hang out with you, man. You seem like a really good guy. I'm not hiding myself. But Mandy, I appreciate you explaining that to me. The mysteries, it's not mysteries, it's just, it's one-sided. That's what you're saying. It's one-sided. And that's why I've really enjoyed watching your lives, Mandy, is, you know, I get to talk to you here, but then it's really cool to see you, you know, like, I think that was yesterday, you were out running errands, and it was fun to kind of just see the real you. Yeah. Hold on a second. I gotta go back. Don't want to share. Joyce said, potters have a common ground like many other hobbies. Oh, that's a good contribution. Nick Jordan said, y'all would have liked me for real. False. I like some grit in my life. I don't mean to be rude, but I think that's what you were referring to, Nick. You got some grit. I respect the hell out of that. You got the ability to speak the truth. Y'all wouldn't like me. That's not true. What's going on there? Oh, yes, I am, Mandy. Sorry about that. Yep. Sorry about that, Mandy. I am completely mixing you up with Leah. Now I've got it sorted. Yeah, Mandy, 25. Dog. Dang it, can't remember the name of the dog. A little stone. You are awesome. Holly! Thank you for reminding me. Still laughing about Nick Jordan. Sheila said, "Hi, have you ever done any pug mill videos? My husband wanted me to retire a few years ago. I said I can't retire until I get my pug mill. A week later, they delivered my pug mill. Oh, that's very exciting, Sheila. Please give me more details. What pug mill did you get?" I have about 19 more questions, but I'm not going to say them all at once. To answer your question, I would be happy to give you any information that you might need. I can make a pug mill how to use it video. I would be happy to do that. Kind of depends on what pug mill that you've got, though. But yes, to me, I was in a great position where when I set up the studio, my generous wife said, "Let's set a budget. What do you need?" And then I was able to basically write myself the dream studio setup. And so the pug mill to me was like as important as the kiln. And I ordered those in the same order. But the pug mill also costs, I think it was like $500 more than the kiln. So it was a big check to write, but I'm sure Jess can relate that reclaim is just, it's so hard to do. And as a teacher, I did it for a long time, and then we got our pug mill at school, and it just was something that I realized I was just too old to not have it if I was going to make, 1,000 pots a year. My hands and back and. Swan City said, "By the way, been using your SG video as a solid resource. Thanks for making it. You should definitely make pig mill videos for the peoples." Thank you very much for saying that. Yeah, the specific gravity to me was it was just like a differentiating moment when I realized how important measuring our water in our glazes was, and just how much difference it makes in the results. I had no idea. Like a glaze will look and feel the same, but have completely different outcomes based on the amount of water that's in there. And I didn't discover this. I'm a like I always say, I'm a super dummy. But I saw a gap, in the videos that were out there. Because people say, "Oh, measure your specific gravity, measure your water, write it down." But how do you do that in reverse? Like, what if you already have a wet clay or wet glaze? How do you figure out how much dry material is in there? And that helped me do some testing. So thank you so much for the compliment. I'm glad that helped you out. Oh, I forgot to do the round thing, the middle one again. And I'll make some pug mill videos. When I was a teacher, I made them, but they were like lame. Just like instructional videos from a grumpy old turd. 15 said, "My cut is going crazy for real." Ooh, that thing still isn't healed, huh? Mandy said, "I'm imagining pug puppies running a mill, making flour." Yes, that's what it is. It's sad, but we take the puppies and feed them their little kibbles, and they have to run on the hamster wheels, and Mill out the flour. Pugs. I love pugs. I think a pug is like a hybrid between a cat and a dog. There's no genetic confirmation to this, but that's just in my head what a pug is. It's the mule of cats and dogs. You know how a mule is a horse and a donkey? That's true. I did not know that until recently. A mule is a horse and a donkey put together. Mm-hmm. Nick Jordan, what are you and Jess working on today? You frequently, I would say your lives are when you're throwing. So I always wonder what you're all doing on the days where you're not live, and it must just be what I'm doing: glazing, trimming. You all had the added chore of packaging work, shipping it. What are you guys working on a Friday? This mug color got vetoed by my creative director, but I love it. This speckled buff clay is not something that she likes, but oh man, to me, that's what I would make. All spec buff. I mean, I like the B mix. But I love the spec buff. But I don't have very good taste. Case in point, I pretty much eat a vegetable and chicken burrito every day for lunch. The reason I bring that up is because I think by coincidence I was having lunch, having a burrito, and then looking at my phone and seeing Ben Wolf was online. And then it kind of became a thing. Like every time I'm having a burrito, I'm now thinking to myself, oh, Ben Wolf must be online. So I associate Ben Wolf with burritos. And I wonder if it would work in reverse. Like, if I ever saw Ben Wolf online, would I want a burrito? You know, like Mavlov's dogs. You know, am I getting conditioned to want a burrito whenever I see Ben Wolf? Oh, man. I'm thinking yes. It's Ben Wolf burrito time. Burrito time. Well, let's see. I've got 4, 8 done, and I have 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Yeesh, 16 to go. It's just the life, you know. This is the life of making work. I threw these plates 2 days ago, and then yesterday, I've got all this clay around me that is not B-mix. So I thought, how can I use up this clay instead of, you know, being wasteful? So I made 6-pound bowls, big monster bowls, and some platters, which I had made before, but the platters, I used 2 pieces. I used a slab for the base, and then I attached a coil and pulled the walls, but they cracked at the attachment point. You know, I did a good job attaching them, but there is like a trade-off of not doing a bisque fire, and that is that the larger, flatter forms go through so much thermal expansion, I think it causes them to crack. That's what I've read, but I'm hoping by not attaching the coil and just folding up the side of the slab that it will maybe not crack. Let's see. Sheila, are you back? Or did you get distracted by your beautiful pug mill? I still have my 19 questions, so when you get back, please let me know. Because I would like answers. Oops. Also, Jess and Nick, I don't know if you're still there, but I tried to, I made a newsletter and then I tried to send it out, but my Outlook wouldn't let me. It was like, no, you can't spam all these people. So I had a question, if you were still there, about what resource you guys might use or what you do use for your newsletter. Is it through Shopify or a different app that sends it out? Still issues. That'll do it. And 15, I don't know if you're still there, but tell me more about this cut, man. It seems like it's been a long time. Is it just not healing right, or what's the deal? Okay, an hour and 40 minutes. To do 9? So let's just say, let's see how long it takes to do one more. And we can add some data on this. Okay. Lots of little curlicues build up in there, and then I recycle those. They make noise that starts to drive me nuts. Chat's frozen. That would explain a lot. How do I unfroze the frozen? Nuts. Thank you, Nick. Oh, there we go. No chat. Ah, there we go. It isn't. It wasn't. I Pavloved myself. That's true. Gosh darn it. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. 15 said, got one more year to buy up whatever water pistols I want. We have a pretty restrictive law passed. Well, knowing you, 15, you will not miss the opportunity. Sheila said, Bluebird Pug Mill. We've built our own gas kiln, all solar. Holy hot dogs. Sold our electric kiln. Husband was an art teacher. Had students go to the river to dig and process their own clay. Oh my God, that's amazing. Nick said, "Move to America." Ben Wolf said, "Some potters dislike hydrometers and go with feel, but it's definitely important for consistency." Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Ben Wolf, I think your dad has a Bluebird, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, yeah, finger tests more easy. And I think just fine once you get used to it. A little harder, like you were saying, to sell the glazes and say, hey, dip your finger in, it should feel like this. Yeah, sorry about the text. I don't know what happened. I was just here and then I didn't make any changes. Another reason we all need ourselves a producer Nick. Maybe Poppy can be my producer Nick. Hey dog, wake up. Come help me out. So, Sheila, your Bluebird Pug Mill. Is it a de-airing pug mill? Does it have a vacuum pump with it? And have you had a chance to use it? And. Haven't used it yet. Does have a vacuum. Oh my goodness. How much clay can it process at once? Like, is it like mine where it has a hopper where you put it in there and then it mixes it up and then pugs it out? Or is it like a more standard pug mill where it goes in and then pugs out right away? So exciting. This will be the first run. Sheila, are you going to record it? Your first pug mill? We'd like to see. Sheila, that's super cool. So your husband was a pottery teacher. You're a potter. Doing the work. Hopper then comes out. Oh, yes. So you've got yourself the ideal setup there. When I was pugging clay in college, it was just a standard old Shimpo pug mill. And so there was no real way to mix stuff. You had to like slack it down first and dry it out and then then send it through the machine. But with the hopper like that, it's so nice to be able to put a variety of different stiffnesses in there, and then even add a bit of slurry, let it mix up to the consistency that you like. And Ben Wolf, there's a video of him and his dad making a bigger pot, and his dad takes these just fresh bags of clay right from the manufacturer and tosses them all into his mixer. And they have a mixer separate from their pug mill, but he puts it in there and then he adds slip to make it softer, which is such a good use of the pug mill mixer. If you don't like the consistency of your clay, boom, add a bit of water, problem solved. It's a great video. It's really cool to see two legends working together like that, Guy and Ben Wolf. Sheila said, haven't ever recorded anything pottery since high school. Part-time potter, full-time RN, 45 years. Now, full-time, 5 years. Husband and I met at an art show. So cool. It's like the fairy tale relationship. Met at an art show. Two artists now doing art together. Do you have a shop? I should know this. You're probably some well-established pottery that I should know. I'm embarrassed to say that I don't. What's your website? Or what's the name of your pottery? I want to go check it out. See what kind of work you're doing. And Sheila, have you used a pug mill before? Or are you familiar with its operation? Did your husband use it when he was in school as a teacher? I'm getting close to my quota of questions, I know. Can't help it, I have so many questions. Also, okay, I can't resist this one. Also, does Bluebird do a pretty good job with like an instructional video or the manual? Peter Pugger, maybe more so now, I haven't looked, but when I first started using Peter Pugger, there was no information, nothing in the manual either. It was just like, do it, pug the clay. Which was frustrating because you don't know how to do it. How do you learn? But in those days, I developed a technique called the flip-flop. Flip-flop. So if you have any interest in that, let me know. I can explain the flip-flop. Sheila said, yes, full-time, sell wholesale, hard doing shows as senior, did up 30 shows a year, whoa, when I was young. I have been trying to get into shows around here, but they are, I don't know what the deal is. I'm applying, no one is even responding to my inquiries. So the only show I've been able to get into is is like 3 hours away from here, and it's a second sale, which I did really well at last year, but I would like to get into some farmers markets to try to sell some work. But here in Southern California, it's a challenge. Only use Soldner clay mixer in college. Oh yeah, I know that one. The big concrete hopper. Lasts for 100 years minimum. Those are good mixers. Husband used very small pug mill when he was a teacher. Oh man, it's going to be so fun to have your own pug mill. How much clay can it pug at once? Sheila said he took early retirement, built a round house in the mountains, 48 acres on a mountain in Colorado. A real fairy tale. Wow. I love everything you're saying. Sounds so cool. 48 acres in the mountains in Colorado. In a round house. Built it himself. He's a real Renaissance man. So the art show that you guys met at was in Colorado. Must have been. Well, I don't know. My wife is in Colorado right now. Another one of those little pug mill chunks. Sheila, is your pug mill stainless steel or aluminum? I'm way over my question quota, I know. I was limited to 19. I think I'm at 24 right now. But if you're okay with it, I'm just going to keep them coming. Not sure about the specs. Let me look at the booklet. No, in Pensacola, Florida. Sheila, the reason I ask about what it's made from is, I'm not sure if you were here earlier when I was talking about the drama that I've just gone through with my pug mill. But if yours is aluminum, then my next question would be, what cone are you firing to and with what clay? Because I have all these little chunks in my clay. It's not because I'm a lazy potter. It's because these little stalactites grow on the inside of my pug mill. Which defeats the purpose of even having a pug mill. Sheila said he picked out Colorado land when he was 29 and a forestry major. Oh, that is a fairy tale. That's a Nick Jordan fairy tale. I know the Swan City folks are in the market for land right now. And if Nick Jordan could procure 48 acres in the mountains, I know he would. I know he will. If I know something about Nick Jordan, when he puts his mind to something, it's just a matter of time. Oh, another little chunk. I'll start saving these up. Make myself a necklace. I'm lucky. So many. Nick Jordan said, on the top of the mountain and barely halfway up. Think about it. On the top of the mountain and barely halfway up. On the top of the mountain and barely halfway up. Not many mountains in Florida, though. Nick Jordan doesn't need a mountain. He'll make his own. Step aside, fool. I'm making a mountain. Nick Jordan Mountain. Mount Jordan. Leah! Hi. Sheila said, meant to say when he was 20, chat with Swan City often, enough them to buy more land than they think. Oh yeah, I think I do remember you even saying that. And farther away than they think they can drive, as the city will always move out. No doubt. Sprawl. Yeah, and then your little house in the hills has now got a highway going right next to it. Sprawl. It's good advice, Sheila. Oh, Leah, yeah, thank you. I have been all right. You know how problems tend to come in threes. I had three problems and just had to kind of settle in for a bit of a grind. And then the way my mind works, it's like when I get space from something for too long, I kind of like start to, I don't know, this is stupid to say, but it starts to become more difficult to do it. And so today I just thought, just who cares? You don't have to make a thumbnail. Just get on there, make an appearance. Just having some issues with my horizontal feed, so I just abandoned that today for the sake of less potential for problems. But yeah, things are good. Weather's nice here. And whoa, Sheila said 40 minutes of dirt road from leaving a paved road. Okay, that is way out there. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad to see you too. And thank you for being here. I tuned in for a few minutes. You were running some errands. I think that was today's Thursday, today's Friday. So I think that was yesterday on your live feed. And Sheila, did you what clay are you using? If I can ask. Is it a stoneware or a porcelain? Really, it's just what color is it? Our issue, I didn't know, was that I just thought it couldn't be porcelain in the aluminum. But in the past few years, there's been a change in a lot of the clay bodies that are not cone 10 and porcelain if it is cone 10. So the Custer Feldspar mine closed. Rocky Mountain Buff, cone 6. Super body. Yeah, buff. Should be fine. Did you all get the stainless pug mill or the aluminum? Leah said those look great. So would this be a grog heavy clay? Ooh, good terminology. No, I've been using all the same clay. This is now my standard B mix. No grog. We'll see how they turn out. These are the first dinner plates I've made in a long time. Grog, yeah. They do make a B mix with grog. I tried it, I don't like it. The grog has all these specks. Joyce said, has anyone ever tried the dragon fruit clay? Looks beautiful. Wow. I have never heard of it. Sheila said, looks like aluminum. It's gonna be great, Sheila. Like I said, you can see the color of my clay here. It's an off-white, and it fires up similar, something like that. And I think, I don't know for fact because they won't tell you, but I think they flux this with nephthalene cyanide. And so nephthy is a sodium flux, and it is, I think, what they would call semi-soluble. So when they mix it, all the agitation of then throwing and dissolving it back down with the reclaim if it dries out and then you add water, further dissolves the salt. And from what I have been told from Peter Pugger, is that soluble salt, the alkalinity of that, reacts with the aluminum. And it makes these little crystallized chunks. And they're super annoying. So it hasn't arrived yet, but I had to order all stainless steel parts that touch the clay, or switch to a different clay body. The dark clays apparently aren't as susceptible. They don't say why that is, or they don't crystallize as much. And when I was a teacher, I had a Peter Pugger forever and never had a problem. So I don't have a really good answer, but I just wanted to kind of point it out that this is something that I've been going through. But I've had the Peter Pugger for like 3 years, and I didn't notice it until now, because I think the crystals can build up for a long time because there's a gap between the walls and the blades, and I think they build up for a long time, and then once they get close enough to the blades, they get sheared off, and then they're in the clay. But it sounds to me like your buff clay won't have that issue. The spec buff that I use is brown. It's like a dark iron clay. It says, doesn't say in the booklet, did you have problems because you left clay in the pug mill? Yeah. Whether you leave clay in there or not, in my pug mill, there is always going to be clay in there. It just adheres to the walls. So short of like disassembling and removing the nose cone and cleaning it out, there is clay left over in there. I read a bunch of articles from different folks who, when this was first discovered as a problem, what they were trying to do to fix it. And I think what Joyce was talking about earlier, she says, it's really a bummer that the manufacturers are really still selling aluminum pug mills because they know this is an issue. And I'm not trying to like freak you out. It's not really an issue unless you're throwing with porcelain or very white clays. So I think for you it'll be great. It's just on the front of my mind right now because I'm just going through it. Lee said, I always learn something here. Thanks. Me too. Lee, do you have any plans for the weekend? What's going on over there? If you're like me, you got to do your taxes because I've put it off to the last possible second. And I need to get that done. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't get it truly clean. Usually go through 2,500 pounds a year. Whew. 2,500 pounds a year. You guys are cranking pots. That is a lot of clay. Sheila, how would you describe, because I haven't had a chance to look you up yet, but how would you describe your pottery making on a dating site? You know what I mean? Like, how would you, what kind of pots do you make? How would you describe them to somebody who doesn't know you? Lee said, but to be fair, I've been a stay-at-home mom for 3 years, so. Oh, I missed one. Well, funny you mentioned that. I got to make a few payments on student loans so I can file my tax again for the last 3 years. Whoops. Yeah. Oh, well, to be fair, you are a stay-at-home mom. Yeah. Yeah, if you don't have an income, you don't have to pay income tax. That's true. Yeah, oops. When I worked after Alex, I only would have gotten back a few $100, so I didn't bother. Yeah, no kidding. Big scary word for that. But as for the weekend, going to see my dad and stepmom. Nice. You doing anything fun? Hopefully, going to get a chance to go do something. No plans right now, just trying to make sure that I save space to do whatever I need to do for the taxes. Friend invited us to go on a hike, but I turned him down just because I love those guys. It tends to be an all-day experience and then tired the next day. So trying to be good, take care of business. Sheila said, thrown, altered, printed images in clay. Specimens printed for wall hangings or jewelry. Interesting. Iron oxide on specimens look like fossils. Whoa! Oh, I cannot wait to check this out. Fossils, iron oxide, yeah. So it's kind of like you use the iron like a wash, like you're applying it and then wiping it off. Do you flux the wash? Do you put up like a frit in there or something like that? Or is it just like straight iron and water? Sheila, I think we maybe need to do an episode of the mudslinging. so many questions for you. It would be nice to do it, you know, kind of like so you don't have to type. If you'd be open to that, I would love it. Chance to kind of interview you. I'll warn you, I had some early audio issues, but I have sorted that out. I had a person from the Geek Squad come and help figure those issues out. But I'd make it easy, very easy on you. We could just do it through like a Teams chat. If you wanted to come on and talk about your work. I think folks around here would be quite excited to see what you have to do. And no stress, you know, there's only 7 people watching. So it's, you know, it's real low key. I'm gonna go back here. Lisa said, "Oh wait, you're the Sheila that knows Jess and Nick." Yeah, that made the seahorse necklace. Question for you, Joshua: do you reclaim your trimmings? Yep, I sure do. I have a Peter Pugger, and I just throw them all back in there and mix them up and use them again. If I'm really good, I have my soy sauce bucket here filled with the trimmings from today. And then what I'll do is throw some pots, and I put all the goo from the throwing in there. And then once it's got the right amount of goo, I put it in there and pug it out. If that's the scientific term. But yeah, that's how I do it. Clay's so expensive, you know. Down here, it's like essentially $1 a pound. So yeah, it's really worth it to recycle. As long as your pug mill doesn't make little chunks. The chunks are frustrating. Yep, that's our Sheila. I would love to check out the necklaces, fossils, talk about your process, ask my 99 questions, have a closer look at your pug mill. Pick your brain on this self-built kiln. Oh my goodness. I know your husband built that. So, how Stan was supposed to be the techno computer guy. Once we moved here, he became a mountain man, lost all technology skills, built a house, kiln, jewelry studio. I need techno help. Yes. Well, the good news is that as far as techno help for the mudslinging, you would just use your phone, or you could use your laptop, whatever. And so there wouldn't be, it's just like a standard Teams call. So most computers have Teams, or we could use a web browser as well. And I just send you a link, and then you'd click on the link, and it would ask your permission to use your camera and microphone, and then you'd see me. And we could test it beforehand just to be sure. That would just take 5 minutes. But this, for example, is just my phone in front of me. The techie stuff is on this end. And thankfully, I've had my friend Nick Jordan from Swan City Ceramics. He helped me out tremendously getting all the other stuff sorted out. He said, move to the mountains. I'll take care of shipping, marketing, etc. Love his other skills. I think that's similar in our house. I was just trying to send out just a simple newsletter email. I thought, no problem. You know, you get the emails, you paste them in there. The Outlook wouldn't let me. My email provider was like, no, you can't spam people. Which I didn't realize that's what I was doing. But so anyway, my partner and wife, Wendy, is going to help me out with that. Thank God. Spend all this time putting together a newsletter. No one can see it. Oops, went on upside down. Need a techno guy like Nick to set me up, but would do it if I could. Lots of family and friends want me to do YouTube. Well, you know, Sheila, this might be a really good first step in that direction. We could try it, and then you could kind of see if that was easy enough for you. And then it might be just like the first steps. You'd be like, okay, I did that. And then from there, you might say, okay, this YouTube thing's easy. Because you already have access to it. I mean, you have your account, and that's really all you need. You know, the problem a lot of us have is that we're watching the Swan City production, which is, it looks effortless. You know, their feed is outstanding. They have thumbnails, they have cut scenes, they have transitions. It's outstanding, it's beautiful. But there is a world, there's a successful world that we could live in that doesn't have all that production value. We can aspire to it, right? That's the goal, is to have that level of entertainment. But we don't need that to start. What I discovered is you start adding all those things in, and then they make problems. And if you're not extremely experienced like Nick is, they make issues that shut down your feed, or you don't have chat, or I don't know, there's all kinds of problems. But Sheila, if you'd be open to talking further about that, or doing a test of it as a possibility, we could talk more on email. And my email is real simple. It's just hello@thegoodspottery.com. So if you want to talk more about having a chat online, hello@thegoodspottery could be one option. There's, you could do it on your own, or there's other folks that are way more popular than me, but I'll make it easy on you. Send you a link and we can try it out, see if you like it. Passerby. Leah, thank you very much. Yep, hello@thegoodspottery.com. What's the deal with this one? Oh, it's sticking up too high. So is that one. Let me trim it down a little bit. Passerby said heading out west for the warm weather. Or how far west are you going? rest. I tried to stack another plate on top of these, and this middle piece is too high, so I gotta trim it down a little bit. Passerby said, "We're getting cooler here, LOL. Only 100 kilometers to a mine." Little LaCroix, couple peanut butter pretzels. Whoa. That's weird. This is all wonky. Probably not going to help. Geez, it was getting warmer. Cold front moved through, but more storms bringing another warm front. Tennessee weather, eh? Don't like it? Wait 5 minutes. Passerby said, 5 out of 6 shifts done for the week. The week is starting to catch up with me. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, 6 days a week? That's a lot of days. I'm sorry, Passerby, what is it that you do for work? I should know this. Yeah. Good encouragement, Leah. You got this, Passerby. One to go. I'm enjoying the cool change. Hot, muggy summer is finally over, yeah. Fantastic Friday, no matter what. Hell yeah. Nick Jordan, you got anything awesome coming over the weekend? Going to some barbecue festival? Some other wonderful thing? Oh, hey, I meant to ask you, do you all have any more of that Swan City hot sauce? Hot sauce with a vengeance? I'm going to order another one. The internet will tell me if you have any more. I can just look it up. "4:36 p.m. Friday in beautiful Florida." Yes. Poor passerby. He thought it was Saturday. Damn it! Does that mean you actually have you've only done 4 out of 6? Oh, I think this poor guy thought he just had a Freaky Friday moment. Thought it was Saturday and it's only Friday. No! 2 more shifts. He's actually in the future. Mm. Yes. Yes. Here are tonight's lotto numbers. Oh God, that would be sweet. We could all be winners. I know what Nick Jordan would buy if he won the lottery. It's not what you think either. I'm pretty sure it's a helicopter. Oh, now I really want to know. What would Nick Jordan buy if he won the lottery? 100-acre ranch. Fan boats and jet boats. Oh, shoot, get out of here. What would Nick Jordan buy? Not interested in money. Starting my own economy. I should have thought of that. It's the most legendary answer to that question. I'm not interested in money. That's why Nick Jordan is a legend. He doesn't come in here with these small-minded ideas. Starting their own economy. Is that what those coins were? This is the new Swan City money. I got to get in on the ground level. Yeah, I need a swan coin as well. Price of one swan coin, $80,000 though. Or 4 ounces of gold. Pure gold. Mm-hmm. Oh, thanks, passerby. Yeah. Today, 6, 10, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 23 dinner plates. That's what always amazes me about Swan City, is that Jess makes it look so easy. She'll stand there and trim or throw. That's what we usually see. And she'll just grind out 40 pots. Me, 23 plates, and I gotta go like have a snack and take a rest. Not Swan City. Not Pottery with a vengeance. Oh, dang it. That's right. They just live on trail mix and beef jerky. Swan City. Bubblegum and kicking ass. That's all we do here. Chew bubblegum and kick ass. Yes. Looks like I'm all out of bubblegum. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. A lot of it is, like I was saying, that I do get tired, but also space. You know, how many dinner plates can I really glaze and fire in a reasonable amount of time? I've never figured out a good way to fire a plate either. I think they have like these special holders, but I don't have any of those, so I just fire right on the kiln shelves. And it makes the pack of the kiln super dense. So I can only fire about, these probably 6 at the most in a fire. Something I need to figure out. Yeah. Yeah. Swan City said, half of it is the energy I get from Nick. Y'all can imagine the power. Yeah. Haha. Plus he feeds me snacks. I mean, I get energy from Nick Jordan, and I am on the West Coast. I could just feel it. When he says, I need you to get up, do a stretch right now. I did it. I got up, started stretching. That's no lie. I enjoy the power of motivational speaking. I've been watching a few of your pottery for a while now. Haven't seen any firing yet. Oh, yeah. The real issue with my firing is my kiln is outside. I was trying to do a video when I loaded that kiln, which was on Monday, but my stinking cameras got too hot and turned off. So I recorded everything, or I thought I did, and then when I was finished, I went to go turn them off, and they only were on for 5 minutes. So I need to sort that out. But I do have the results from my last fire just sitting on the picnic bench right now. If you want to look, if you want to see, I could just walk out there with my phone. Just talked to Mary, Leah said, for those interested. He hopes to go live tonight. That'd be great. Jackie isn't 100%. Nick Jordan. Yes. Man, see, this is what I'm talking about, Nick Jordan. Always coming in with that truth bomb. And I don't mean that as a criticism. I mean that as in, I need me a Nick Jordan in my life. Swan City, Florida, and I are too far apart. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind the shaky camera, I could just walk out there. It's all just sitting there. Oh yeah, about to lose service. Leah said, I need to do more what I'm now affectionately and ironically calling safe spaces, lives, LOL. I got a bunch of great feedback from the one the other day. Right on. It's great to hear. Yeah, Leah, I don't always catch folk at the right time, I guess. Oh, passerby, it's hard to see everything. And I'm glad you're here. I'll show you whatever you want to see. I know you weren't here earlier when we were looking at this stuff, but passerby, if you're interested, this is a glaze I'm working on right now. It's a crystal glaze. So these are zinc silicate crystals that I'm trying to grow on these glazes, and that's from my last fire. Crystal. I'm not sure, Leah. I popped in for just a minute. We were like on our way somewhere, so I didn't get a chance to spend any time. But you were out running some errands, and I think today's Friday, so that must have been yesterday. But I'm really glad that you're doing the lives. Oh, yay, another little chunk. Stupid chunks. Get out of here. Could that have been last night? I was out last night, so I don't think I would have seen it, but maybe I just saw it pop up as a notification. But I thought it said that you were running errands. I could check on my phone, but I'm using it as a camera right now. You're reading my mind. I lose track of the days. Pine tree printed mugs. Oh, Sheila, we need to get you on the mudslinging. We want to see this. We want to see it. Yeah, I want to see these mugs, pine tree printed mugs. I got like 12 questions about the printing screen, or is it screen printing? Nope, I got too many questions about the pine trees. Are you throwing the mugs? I can't help myself. Sheila, are you throwing the mugs, or are you using slabs or a different technique to make the mug? And on the kiln, Sheila, are you all doing reduction or are you doing oxidation firing? Oh, I would love that, Sheila. Yeah, maybe you popped out for this, but if you're interested, just send me an email at hello@thegoodspottery.com. Just hello@thegoodspottery.com. And that you can also find that on our website, just thegoodspottery.com. And it's just me. So if you send an email through there, it's just me. Yeah, and we could do a test, but that would be super fun to get on with you and check out your work. So I think you are doing something that's different from anyone else here. The majority of us are doing kind of like, well, you're throwing 2,500 pounds a year, so you must be making a lot of them. You can see, just got a lot of questions for you. I'll be your Nick Jordan. I'll be your Nick Jordan, Sheila. Not as good looking, but also not as good looking. See? So that's like a positive and a negative. There's not the stress of the fame and the notoriety of Nick Jordan. Whoops. Smooth. Oh yeah, I remember firing the gas kiln. Project takes all day. A lot of timers. That's the only way I was successful, is setting timers. Ooh. Bye, passerby. Thanks for coming in. I throw the mugs, cylinders, then printed or pressed design, altered shape, rounded belly, then rounded rim back, trimmed the handles, applied, mostly oxygenated firing as we are at 9,500 feet elevation. Holy hot dogs, that is way up there. 9,500 feet. Small amount of reduction at the end. We'll email you at the end of the workday. Yes, thank you. And there's less oxygen at this elevation. Yeah, a lot less. I can't remember the amount from the last time I was in Colorado. When I experienced less oxygen for the first time, but we were not that high. Not 9,500 feet. It's really high up there. I mean, I pretty much live at sea level my whole life. Our house in Tacoma is 400 feet. And our house here is 1,000 feet above. I couldn't even walk around at your house. I would be winded. Yeah, less oxygen at this elevation. It takes time to adjust. When I go back to sea level, I have superhuman strength. I bet that's true. Your blood saturation, your blood oxygen saturation goes up above 100%. You start feeling like you can see through the walls. Only have to sleep 45 minutes at night. You'd come here and you'd throw like 70 pots an hour. Sheila, have you ever seen the old videos of Isaac Button throwing pots? If not, I recommend it. Isaac Button was a potter early 1900s, and his studio is featured in a little movie called Isaac Button Country Potter. Country Potter. And it's really, really cool to see the integration of his pug mill, his clay drawing field, and his kiln. They used the exhaust from the kiln. The flue went underneath the ground, and then they put all their slurry on top, and that is what they used to dry their clay out. Anyway, that guy could throw on, honestly, I think the estimates are that he could throw like 2,000 pounds of clay a day. In a day. Now, he wouldn't do that every day, obviously, but seeing the amount, just the volume that he was throwing, kind of blew my mind. So I was reminded of that when you said y'all are throwing twice as much clay as me a year. So I think I'm only throwing like 1,500 at max. I bet that's what the Swan City people are throwing, about 2,000 pounds a year. I wonder if they know. This plate feels weird. Swan City said that they would love to see Sheila on mudslinging. Me too. That'd be a lot of fun. Hey, speaking of that, Nick Jordan, do you know how much clay you all are throwing in a year? Estimate, rough estimate. I mean, you must throw a lot of clay in a year. I remember the last time you all went up to buy clay, I think I remember you saying that you bought a ton. That I might have that memory wrong. Did visit Normal Smith from Foxfire book series, who used a mule to process clay. When we lived in Florida, I could throw many, many mugs in a day and would slowly dry. Yeah. The most I've ever done in a day is 100. But that was many moons ago. I think now I could do more. I just, the next day I would have to handle all the pots, all the mugs. And that is the part for me that is the most tiring, is to put the handles on. Don't know why. I think right now it's like I can tolerate to trim and handle about 30 mugs in a day. And then I start to lose my mind. I need a Nick Jordan yelling at me, get back to work. We all need a Nick. Absolutely right. What in the world is going on with this plate? From the outside, rim collapse. Oh, thank you, Sheila. Plates are looking good. Yeah, Sheila, this might be interesting to you, but I raw fire. I don't do a bisque. Whoops, I have to stamp that one. Yeah, it happened kind of fortuitously because I moved from Washington to California, and the clay that is available to me here in California is Cone 5. And so I discovered all of my recipes that I had always used from Cone 6 did not work at Cone 5. They were under fired. I have an example of one right here. This was my workhorse. My light is having a mental breakdown here. This is my wow, look at that. Hey, light, relax. I'll just leave it off. But this was my workhorse white for years and years. And you can see it's crazed terribly. And this mug was just used for 2 months. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I was firing to Cone 6 for like 25 years. And then all of a sudden it didn't work. And having to pick up from scratch, and learn molecular, because I didn't know anything really. I thought I did, but when I needed to formulate my own glazes, I didn't even know where to begin. So took a bunch of classes, read a bunch of books, learned a lot about molecular chemistry, and then spent a year or more testing glazes. And finally, now I'm to a place where I understand glaze chemistry enough that I can make my own. Lost my train of thought. Oh, single fire. But because I was starting over anyway, it was kind of easy for me to also learn to do the single firing. Nothing was working anyway, so figuring that out in addition to the chemistry was kind of a cinch. There's just a bit more like raw shrinkage that happens, so you have to use some gums, and I use CMC. And then there's some tricks to glazing the pots, because you can't hypersaturate, you don't want to like melt the pots or crack the pots from using too much water. These plates got squished. I'm lazy and I stack them all together. And I think some of them got a little squished. Mandy said she's back. Welcome. Dropping off donations at Habitat for Humanity. That's so nice. Dude, Sheila said it. Clay keeps us humble, no doubt. Yes. Yes. Surprising how much we have to learn. And what surprised me too, Sheila, was I counted them because I've told this story before, but I bought 84 books on glaze chemistry. Well, I guess a couple of them were on single firing. And I read those books and tested glazes from those books, and I was more frustrated and lost than when I started. But I took the ceramic materials workshop classes from Matt Katz, and that is when I started to understand what to do. And that was like 6 months ago. So in terms of lifespan of potter, I am just a baby, really. I hardly have any glazes developed. I have a green, a blue in both matte and gloss. I'm working on the white, but my white still takes cutlery marks pretty bad. The matte does. I tested a tin oxide white, but because I use manganese in some of my glazes, it turns pink. This clay. Sheila said the rabbit hole can be deep when solving a problem in clay. I bet that pink blush is beautiful. Yeah, I guess you're right. It is nice, but because I wanted a white, but you're right. Yeah, what's wrong with that? Having a slightly warm hue to it. Nothing wrong with that. I could split the difference too. That's an interesting idea. Split the difference between the tin and the zircon. And then Mandy said, want to know something funny that happened earlier? My dad was asking me to find the TurboTax disc for this year because he finally needs to do taxes. Me too. He's disabled, so most of his time is spent at the recliner. He thought it was somewhere under the end table or under the couch somewhere from falling. I gather trash every day and was afraid I threw it away. Turns out 2025 is digital. Oh, that's lucky. Don't have to buy another copy, just download again. That's great. Yeah, that makes sense that they go to digital. And what's the point of having CDs? I don't even have a CD. I don't have one, a DVD or. Two to go. It feels good. I was looking for it for 40-ish minutes. I was so scared I threw it away. So much stress for nothing. Yeah, story of all of our lives, right? So much stress for nothing. Mandy said, "How are you? Genuinely, I'm good. I am good. I don't think I would have said that last week, but yeah, things are looking up. It's like you were just saying, I was stressed out about some things, and turns out it worked out great. What I thought was going to be really expensive turned out to be a pretty good deal with the pug mill. Actually, the last time I was kind of on, I was talking about a glaze mistake that I had made, and it turns out that glaze mistake was actually because I had a change in my clay body. I say all this because I think sometimes a lot of the way I am feeling is directly connected to like how my work is going, and because I connect so much of my identity to being a potter, a lot of the way I feel comes from the success or failure of what I'm trying to do here. And it was hard coming off of being a teacher for 25 years and then realizing that I didn't have this capacity or the skills to be a potter. And so for 2 years, it's been a struggle. I coined a phrase called post-firing depression. You know, you have a firing and you open it up and you're like, it's all garbage. And then you're depressed for 3 days and then you start over. But now things are going really well. Like the fire, it comes out, the pots look really good. The testing that I'm doing is going well. So I'm also generally feeling much better about my performance. But thank you, Mandy, so much for asking. Sheila said, when I worked in the ER trauma, I knew there was a cement factory nearby that occasionally had injured employees. They told me that they realigned their kiln every year with super bricks, and they always had extra. Oh my goodness. Is that where the kiln bricks came from for your kiln? Because the bricks, the hard bricks, I think if you buy them are $4 a piece. That might be the soft brick. So to get a deal or free would be, holy cow. If I had free bricks, I would build a 25 cubic foot kiln. And then I would spend all the money I had initially planned to build the kiln on a electronic controller. But they cost $30,000 or something like that. No, maybe the controller is only $9. I think the controller is $9. But that would be so cool to have a gas kiln that fired itself. And they exist. Matt Katz has one. Lucky dog. It can do reduction too, by itself. The reline had to always be from the same batch, and they had a warehouse of extra bricks. I always sought out those employees, took excellent care of them. Yes, indeed. As I would too. No need to tip me, just bring in a couple bricks every time you come by. And in 89 years and 42 days, she had enough bricks to build her kiln. They said, "You're always so good to our employees. How can we repay you?" I said, "I hear you have some bricks." Yes! Yes, yes, yes. Continue the story, please. Super bricks. Actually, Mandy, I don't know the answer to that either. That might be the soft bricks. But I'd like to know the answer. Was it a typo? Oh, yes, Mandy, soft bricks are a refractory material. So what we build our kilns from, and they are in the shape of a brick, but it's super soft. And you could break it with your hands, but they are very light. So because the manufacturers for our kilns are far away from where they're sending them, they use soft brick because it's very light and cheap to ship. Versus hard brick, which is very heavy, and so more expensive to ship. But if you could, and I'd be curious to hear what Sheila would say about this. If you could, you would always choose hard brick because they retain heat much better. And that's really what our kilns are, is a vessel for retaining heat. And so if you had a material that could retain heat better, it would be a better kiln. And I think that's why when people build, unless they have free bricks, they usually build from hard brick. But that might be wrong. That's just my understanding of it. Sheila said, one day they said that we will get you those bricks. I said, I've written you off. I'm going to another city to work. They called me the next day and said, how many do you want? I said, how much? Oh, this is the most legendary kiln building story I have ever heard. And actually, speaking of kiln bricks, I read Michael Cardew's book. Michael Cardew was a famous potter in the late 1800s and 1900s. And he describes building a kiln. And back in those days, they had to make their own. So kind of to answer that question about the difference between the bricks, the first thing that he would do was build a small kiln for making and firing the high fire bricks. And then they would make the bricks and fire the bricks that they would use to build their big kiln. It's so much work though, holy cow. He said they're free. $30 per brick, and they're going to give them to you for free. Holy mackerel. $30 per brick. These must be silicone carbide bricks. I have one. I have one of those, and I use it to grind glaze off my shelves. Super brick must be silicone carbide. Yeah, those are super bricks. $30 for one brick. Indeed. Holy cow. Mandy said, do the bricks go in electric kilns or just natural? Let me show you. I'm all done trimming, so I thought I would if you're interested, I'll show you the the results from the fire, and then it's a beautiful day here. On the way, we can look at my kiln. So, Mandy, you can see here the bricks. They cut them on an angle, and then they shape them so that you can put the wires, the elements inside. But I have one here, right here. This is a soft brick. This is not what Sheila's describing, but you can see it's soft enough that you can just break it apart. And then I thought we could walk over here and I could show you the results from the fire. Some forms that I've been working on. This is like a green, that green, I call it Vachon picture. It's got this nice matte finish on the outside, and then it's glossy on the inside. And then in a different color, this is a blue utensil holder, like for spoons and whatever. And something I've not made before, but I was trying out, is this little berry bowl. It's just a smaller sized bowl. I don't know, berries, I guess. This one I'm working on. It's not quite finished yet, but these are some more of those crystals that I was telling you about earlier, those zinc silicates. Pretty. I got an update here from Sheila. Sheila said we had the bricks it took here, and bricks are double size, not square, rated to 35. Holy cow, those are silicone bricks. That's awesome. Same thing in mug, but in blue. Yeah, colander. I make the colanders too. So as you can see, this is like bigger colander, and then this is smaller colander. Bowls, holes. And then I've been doing everything in white too, but I'm not real happy with the white. I don't know why. It's just kind of boring. It needs some pizzazz to the white. Oh yeah, I'd love to see a picture of Sheila. That'd be great. Yeah, really good. Which is my favorite? That's a good question, Mandy. I just finished the testing on this blue. So for a while I didn't like that one as much, and it's probably hard to pick it up here in the video, but the blue has a nice texture to it that I really like. Yeah, single fire, right? And I'm also working on this gray. I think it might be a bit too dark on that one. versus that one. I don't know. I think I want something lighter. But I do like the dark on these cups. And I had a failed test. I'm trying to make a brown, but it's ugly. Yeah. And then, as always, it seems like there's at least one little failure. I'm working on this gold glaze, and it's this one's melted to the shelf. Oh well, so it goes. Makes it harder to use on the shelf, though. Yeah, it's hot out here today. It's like 95 degrees. But that was the firing. There's Poppy. Hi, Poppy. And so now it's kind of burrito time. Oh yeah, it does look like bronze, Mandy. Thank you for saying that. I wonder if Ben Wolf is on, because when it's burrito time here, come here. It's usually when Ben Wolf is on. This is Poppy. Hi, Poppy. Yeah, post-firing depression. Yeah, I love it too. Less and less of that now, as the firings are going better. But gosh, there was a period of time of about 4 months when, I'd put 60 pots into the kiln, and then I would throw away 60 pots, which is a challenge mentally. You're getting down. Okay, bye. Yeah, puppy. Well, I think that'll do it for me. I gotta wait for some bigger bowls to dry, and then I'll trim those. But it has been just so great hanging out with you all. And Sheila, I know at the end of the day you said you might send me an email. That'd be so fun. Mandy, thank you very much for hanging out and all the questions. It's very helpful to have questions, so thanks a lot. We'll see you all soon. Cheers.